history. My name is Beth P. Lee. I am here to share with you about Malvin Gray Johnson. Malvin Gray Johnson is a Harlem Renaissance artist that some of you, actually many of you, may not know who he is. So let's get into it. Malvin Gray Johnson was born and raised in my hometown of Greensboro, North Carolina. And at a very early age, he began to show just tremendous talent when it came to artistry, especially sketching and painting. So his sister, a recent graduate of the Teaching College of Greensboro, which I'm going to guess was Bennett College, seeing as how that was one of the names it was known as back in the day, decided that she and many of her friends who were also teachers were going to teach Malvin the basics of artistry. Realizing that he was not only one, a quick learner, but two, he had skill beyond what they could teach, they decided to help him enroll in school in New York City to begin formal training. And that's what he did. So he moved to New York City to start his formal training as an artist. Unfortunately, World War I hit and he was drafted. However, after he returned, he started painting again as a full-time artist and did so with the Harlem Renaissance. Being a Harlem Renaissance artist was just an amazing feat for him. And for him, he became known as a Neocubist. I want to camp out on that just briefly. Cubism is often hailed as something that began with Picasso. However, Picasso's Cubism is informed by the works, be they carving, drawings, sketches of West African cultures. Even the Benin empires, you can see that the things that Picasso was doing based off of the works during those times. Ancient works in West Africa, even current works by artists in West Africa are based off of, Picasso's works are based off of their work. So when you look at someone like Malvin and the work that he does, it's less about him being informed off of Picasso, but he being a true Harlem Renaissance artist and being an art activist and tying in his culture as an African American with roots of African art and actually showing the world, hey, what you're paying for when it comes to Picasso's work is actually something based off the work of my people and my culture. And I'm going to tie myself back to a culture, even if we don't speak the same language, our art will speak the same language. Another thing that he is known for is how he depicts African Americans. He refuses to depict them in pain. He refuses to depict them in traumatic poses. And that is a big deal when it comes to art activism, especially then and today, which is something that resonates with me and frankly art. We ensure that the stories of the truth of Black people are told, but we also ensure that the joy, our dignity, and our accomplishments are also shown in our art. And the reason why that was important then with Malvin, just as it is important now, is because when we apply value to our trauma before we apply value to our joy and our healing, then we actually stunt ourselves when it comes to our growth. So let's just keep that in mind when we buy our pieces. Yes, know the story. But when it comes to museums and galleries and what's showcased, let's begin challenging them on what of our story has prevalence. Is it our trauma? Is it our joy? Is it our dignity? Or is it our shame? I mean, it's up to you. Let's change some of that narrative in those galleries. But I also want to look at his self-portrait. This was done right before his passing. In the back, you can see a painting, an abstract painting that he has of another realistic painting that he has called Negro Mask. And that again is a tie to him saying, hey, I am an African American, but I am fully aware where this quote unquote cubism comes from. It's a beautiful piece if you get the chance to look at it. Absolutely gorgeous. He also decides that he's not going to just use browns to depict brown skin. There's yellows and oranges, and that just informs us as a people, right? Because our skin tones have so many different colors and undertones, reds, yellows, oranges, blues. There are even many artists who will use blue as the undertone to paint brown skin because of just how well it actually shows up in paintings. I love that about him. I love that he is using different lines in his sweater to depict how he is actually positioned. I love that there are just some things in the background that you actually know what they are, be it a wall or a door, and other things that he's not going to just put that much detail into. It's just there. And that's all you need to know. It's there and it informs the background. Beautiful self portrait, amazing self portrait. And unfortunately, something he completes right before his passing. He dies young, I believe it's at 36 years old. And because he dies so young from heart failure, we don't really know much about him. He actually falls into obscurity. And he falls into obscurity because most Harlem Renaissance artists got to live a long life, right? And they get to have their showings in galleries and exhibitions. But his pieces actually begin to disappear. He's even left in an unmarked grave in Greensboro, North Carolina. But what does happen is that through private collectors, as well as HBCU galleries, historically Black colleges and universities, they come through for the win. And in the early 2000s and the 2000 teens, you find a resurgence of his work, a resurgence of interest in his work, and his name beginning to be spoken once more. And I am truly appreciative of that. So Malvin Gray Johnson, thank you for being an inspiration. Thank you for being just an amazing artist. Thank you for showing the best of us, even when the world wanted us to be at our worst. You are amazing. You are an inspiration. And I hope that you all have truly enjoyed this moment in Black art history.